All right, everybody, welcome back on a Sports Bash Happy Hour Friday. And, of course, Mike McGarry's back. Mike, I'm getting some great feedback on our conversations, and I enjoy talking to you regularly now, and we're going to mix it up here. We got so much going on. Let me ask you this. Are you a PGA, are you a golf guy?
You know, interesting. I am a little bit of a golf day. Early this morning, I had on my ESPN Plus on, following one of the featured groups around. I might have had a vested interest in Tony Finau this weekend, if you know what I mean. So I was a little disappointed with his second round outing, but I will be, you're right, it's a busy weekend, but I will have one eye peeled to the PGA this weekend.
All right, yeah, because I don't see you tweet about golf all that much, so I wasn't sure where you kind of sat in the, are you a week, every week golf or just a majors guy?
In and out during the course of the year. I think, early on this year, when through the Florida swing and the California swing leading up to the Masters, I was big into it. Then I fell out for a couple of weeks. Now jumping back in for the PGA, big U.S. Open guy. Enjoy my early morning British Open, roll over at 5 o'clock in the morning, throw on the TV and watch a little British Open. So, yeah, I do enjoy my occasional golf on TV, basically.
Well, I didn't know that. See, I learned something new with this segment. All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Check out his must-win column, which is a good one this week, very locally oriented. I'll let him bring that up here in just a second. But I want to get your thoughts on this Sixers-Wizards. We watched them against Boston, didn't seem too interested. Then last night, ratcheted up, played a very intense offensive game. And you watch that game and you say, man, if that's the type of game that you're going to get stylistically, can Philly play that style every single game and win this series?
Well, they're going to have to meet the Wizards' intensity. I mean, Russell Westbrook is a lot of things. Intense is most of all. And athletic, he's going to bring it every game. Bradley Beal's going to bring it every game. If you were a conspiracy theory guy, which sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not, you might want to say that the Wizards might have took a little bit of a pass against the Celtics.
Oh, I said that this week, Mike. I said that this week. Like, I don't know that you want to play Brooklyn. I'll roll the dice.
Exactly. So let's take a pass against the Celtics, really come out strong in game 2, because we think we can do a little better against the Sixers than we can against the Wizards. I still think it's a gentleman's sweep for the Sixers. As I said 2 days ago, I think it's the Sixers in 5. But it is interesting. I mean, that backcourt will make it interesting, and they'll throw a scare into the Sixers and their fans. I think they're going to win at least one game. I think the other games are probably going to be pretty close. I mean, Bradley Beal did get 60 against the Sixers, so I mean, there's something there.
Yeah, and Legler, by the way, was on with me Wednesday and said the same thing. He said, I don't think Washington was too interested in playing Brooklyn. Russ Westbrook dominated these games against Indiana. He knew they had no answer for him. Watch how aggressive he comes out early in that game, which he did, and they'll roll the dice and play the Sixers. Why do you, Mike, think the Sixers, I don't want to say disrespected, but why do you think that they are, it almost feels like people aren't even, it's just all Brooklyn. Is that fair or foul?
Well, I think, as you know, I picked Brooklyn to win the Eastern Conference. I think it's those 3 big guys. I think if you look at the Sixers side of things, I think they have questions that can't be answered until the playoffs. And I think people might not believe in some of the answers to those questions. I'll give you an example. I looked this up last night. Ben Simmons, last time we saw him in the playoffs was the Toronto Raptors series, right? Knee injury last year. He missed the sweep against the Celtics. In the Raptors series, he played 51 minutes and 35 seconds in fourth quarter of those 7 games. He took 6 shots in 51 minutes and 35 seconds. He was 4 of 6 from the floor, scored a total of 10 points in that 7-game series in the fourth quarter. That's one of their big questions that has to be answered. If the Sixers are to reach their potential in the playoffs, and to me, it's Eastern Conference Finals or bust, and then once you get there, it's at least a competitive 6-7 game series. They're going to have to get more than 6 shots in a 7-game series in the fourth quarter out of Ben Simmons. I was stunned when I looked up those numbers last night.
Okay, let me ask you this. You just said it's Eastern Conference Finals or bust. If they get knocked out in the second round, which would be an upset this time around, the last couple of times you can make an argument, they weren't the favorite, or maybe this would be an upset if they lost in the second round. What kind of changes would you think would be coming? Can't fire the coach again.
Well, you're going to keep the coach. Obviously, you're going to keep Daryl Morey, but I think you've got to look. If you get beat by the Knicks or the Atlanta Hawks in the second round of the NBA playoffs, barring an injury, barring everybody's healthy, Embiid's there, everybody's healthy, you're going to have to really kick the tires on making a deal on Simmons and his future, and looking around the league and seeing what happens there. I think that's a very real possibility if they lose to the Atlanta Hawks or the New York Knicks, being that everybody's healthy. Obviously, if Simmons is out and Embiid's there, they should still win that series.
Okay, you said gentlemen sweep, but I want to ask you, Mike, as this series looks like, and I agree. I picked the Sixers in 5 at the start of the show today. The Wizards would win this series if.
Boy, I really can't see a scenario. I guess if you have Russell Westbrook averaging 30 points, 15 rebounds, and 15 assists a game, and you have Bradley Beal averaging between 35 and 40 points a game, I think you can do it. If Embiid gets hurt and the Wizards guards produce like that, there's one scenario, but I can't see any realistic scenario where the Sixers don't win this series. I think it's realistic for Westbrook and be able to play for a game like that, but to ask them to play 5, 6, 7 games like that, I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, Mike McGarry, Press of Atlantic City. Check his must-win column out, which I want to get to in just a minute. You tweeted out last night, if you're not sure the Phillies can continue to play Bohm at third base, that you're holding your breath every time they ground ball. They have got to be one of the worst defensive teams, period. And I don't know how they fix this. You have below average defenders at almost every position on the field other than catcher.
Yeah, I mean, it can't just be me. Every time the ball's hit down at third base, you're like, oh, my God. And when he gets it, you're still worried because you don't know where he's going to throw it, basically. How do they fix it? I guess they pray for the DH to come in next season. That's how they fix it. But right now, Bohm is not playing well at third base, and he's not giving you the offense either. He's only batting .218. Now, I think he's going to hit. I think he hit the ball hard last night, hit a line drive right at the second baseman. He can't get out of his own way, basically. Maybe it's a little bit of a sophomore slump, but I think you're right. I've never seen, and I've been watching baseball a long time. I mean, these routine ground balls, it's a circus out there, and it's almost a case where they had Torres play shortstop the other night, and he's making plays, and you're like, oh my, that's how a regular shortstop's that's how it's supposed to work and stuff like that. They cannot give teams extra outs like this all season long. They're going to have, if they want to contend or stay in contention, they're going to either have to have people really start hitting the ball, or they're going to have to figure something out, in the infield especially.
Yeah, I mean, and Mike, you wrote about it over at the Press of Atlantic City about, they scratch Velasquez and you wonder if it's time for Howard, but they've been getting good starting pitching. And in today's game, if you're getting good starting pitching, you shouldn't be a 500 team. I mean, the defense and the strikeouts are just – I want to get into this conversation with you because I know you're a baseball guy, a little, old school sometimes in some ways, but the strikeouts, this team strikes out 27.5% of the time. That's an embarrassment.
Yeah, and it's not just them. You said good pitching. It seems like everybody in the league is good pitching. I saw somebody tweeted out the other day, who hasn't thrown a no-hitter so far this season, basically. So, I mean, I think we've reached the sort of evolution of the velocity, the pitching dominance, the launch angle swing has really reached its kind of apex this season. And now you're going to have to start to see teams, change their approach, get back to maybe the St. Louis Cardinals of the 1980s, doubles in the gap, contact, put the ball in play. But that's not going to happen overnight. It took us 15, 20 years to get this point. We're not going to flip a switch and tonight go out there and see the Phillies start playing like the Gas House Gang of the 1930s, basically. So it's going to be strikeouts and home runs for the foreseeable future. And when you're not hitting home runs, those strikeouts are really, really noticeable.
Yeah, and you just mentioned it. It's been like a 10-year swing to get to, like, they talk about these pitchers in a lab and they put these spin rates on the ball. And the hitters essentially said, all right, you beat us. You've got us. You are so good that we can't string together a single and a single. So we're just going to go all or nothing. And you wonder, Mike, if the game can handle that. Like, can it keep itself afloat with that mentality?
Well, I'm a believer in that it'll adjust. We've gone through eras like this before. I think the hitters will adjust. I think one of the things you see Joe Girardi talk about is guys with speed, like Roman Quinn when he's healthy, putting the ball on the ground, putting the ball in play, using your speed to get on base rather than trying to hit a 3-run home run on every pitch. You see them setting Scott Kingery, trying to fix his swing, basically, trying to get the launch angle or the uppercut out of his swing, basically. So I think it will adjust. But again, you're absolutely correct. It took us 10 to 15 years to get to this point. We're not flipping a switch tonight and seeing it go back the other way. One thing that always cracks me up about baseball, though, is it seems like the baseball media and some baseball fans are never happy. We had the steroid era where utility second basemen are hitting 40 home runs. Now everybody was unhappy with that. Now everybody's striking out. Everybody's unhappy with that. It seems baseball is the one sport where nobody's ever happy. I don't know what it is. When I go to the ballpark, I see lots of smiles. People are happy. Give me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks or whatever. But baseball is the one sport where people just love to pick it apart. So, yeah, we're pitching dominant era right now, but it's going to swing back, but it's not starting tonight.
Yeah, Brady Anderson. Give me 50 homers, Brady Anderson.
Right, exactly.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. So I'm pitcher. I'm a pitcher guy. I love it. Like I joke all the time. When someone says, hey, Mike, I got tickets for the game tonight, your first question is, who's pitching? You don't say, like, how many home runs are they going to hit or who's pitching? Baseball should almost prop pitching up on a pedestal, make those guys the stars. So are you yawning at all these no-hitters or, you just said, another no-hitter, but is that fun? Is that good?
I think it's good. I think it's entertaining. And I don't think we're going to have, what do we have, 7 so far? What are we on pace? I don't think we're going to have 30 no-hitters this year. 7 in the first 2 months. You got 3 more. I don't think we're going to have 21 no-hitters. I just think it's a situation. But I'm with you. Like when we were kids and you went to the ballpark, if a guy struck out 10, 12, 11, 13 guys, it was a big deal. The best pitchers in the game, the Tom Seavers, the Bob Gibsons, they were strikeout guys. Those who were the people wanted to see, basically. So now maybe it's too commonplace. I don't know. But the strikeouts don't really bother me, basically. To me, and again, maybe it's just the way I watch baseball when I'm not covering it or something. But when I watch it, it's often on in the background. I might switch around. I might zoom in for an at-bat. I might say this game's close. Let me get into the 8th and 9th inning here. Very rarely in a regular season when I'm not covering a game am I sitting down to watch pitch by pitch for a regular season game from the 1st to 9th inning. I just view baseball as kind of the soundtrack of the summer. And to me, that's still the best thing about the sport, basically.
All right. Mike McGarry, his must-win column. It's an interesting one this week. It's very localized with a couple of high school coaches, one from the area, one from up north. Tell everybody about it.
Yeah, you got Paul Rodeo of St. Augustine, who's won 968 games, and Bob Hurley, the former coach of St. Anthony, member of the Basketball Hall of Fame. He's won 1,185 games. They're coming together to do a camp out at St. Augustine over the summer. That's nearly 2,000 wins. They've both been around forever. And I guess the point I tried to make in the column is that these guys are kind of the last of their kind, basically. You're not going to see high school basketball coaches. Rodeo just, 40 years at St. Augustine. Hurley was 45 years at St. Anthony. For a variety of reasons, you're not going to see guys like this again. So if you got a chance to sort of, like I said, I just love to go there and hang out and have lunch with them and hear them talk and swap stories. If you got a chance to learn from them, you've got to do it. One thing that amazes me, Mike, they have more than 2,000 wins. Well, you and I could start coaching this season, right? And we could coach the next 30 years, and we could win 20 games a season, right? that would give us 1,200 wins. In 30 years from now, we'd still be 900 and something wins short of these two guys. So, if you got a chance to be anywhere when these guys are together, I think you got to take advantage of it.
I know it's a great piece. I encourage our listeners to go check it out. He just brought it up a great point there about how unique this is. But really, Mike, to our listeners out there, how unique high school basketball is in this particular area. How many the characters and stories. I mean, you could write a different column on different characters at almost every program in this area.
Oh, yeah. And that's what makes it fun. Rodeo's the guy that, we watch him, how soon into the game does he take off his tie and stuff like that. And you can see the guys on the sidelines going back and forth with the reps. And in this area, you've got a tremendous amount of coaches. Tom Farraco down at Middle Township, Gene Allen, obviously Atlantic City. We joke that Gene's sometimes on the court so much he's like a sixth guy. He might be setting a spin and roll there. Paul Baruffi, the Ocean City girls coach, John Bruno, the Ocean City boys coach, Scott Betson over at Mainland. I know I'm going to forget somebody, that I probably should be mentioning here, but this is just a wealth. This is an area where basketball really is a big sport, especially down in that Wildwood area. Frank Vogel, coach of the Lakers, Wildwood Crest native, Wildwood high school graduate. So basketball is important here. And this, I try to point out in this column, we're not seeing guys like Rodeo and Hurley again for a long, long time. So, if you got a chance to learn from them and be around them, you got to jump on it.
Yeah, and don't forget Tom Farraco down at Middle, who
I mentioned him, right?
Yeah, just a great story. Left, came back. It's a great community. It's a great piece. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. All right, so he'll be watching the golf this weekend. We got the Sixers on Sunday. You've got Sixers at 1. You got the Lakers game at 3. You got the final round of the golf. You got all these playoff games. You got Phillies Red Sox this weekend.
Well, let me give you my Sunday. Sunday, I'll be I'll be at Wells Fargo for the 1:00 tip, game 1 of that series, and after that, I'll be heading up the 95 to Trenton to their AA stadium. Chase Petty of Mainland Regional pitching against Don Bosco, one of the top teams in the state, at 6:00. And I'll be, following the golf, and I'll be DVRing the Knick game. Starts at 7:00 that night. So if you see me in Trenton, don't give me a Knicks score, because I'm going to watch it when I'm filed my Chase Petty story. So news blackout when it comes to the Knicks on Sunday. DVRing the game.
It's like that episode of Seinfeld where Jerry says, "Don't tell me the Mets score. I VCR'd it."
Exactly.
Kramer comes in. The Mets really blew that one tonight, right?
Right, exactly.
Yes, that's another interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. That game that's up in Trenton, Chase Petty. I think I'm actually calling that game, so I too will be making the way from probably Philly. I don't know that I'm making it to the Sixer game or not. I'm kind of last minute on that, but the Petty game this weekend, so it's a busy weekend with all of the stuff going on. And, of course, Mike will have it covered for the Press of Atlantic City at AC Press McGarry. And he, like all guests on this happy hour Friday, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. I feel like, did I forget anything? Was there something that I forgot? I guess before we roll here, we got the game tonight. Warriors-Memphis. Who's going to be the 8 seed?
Boy, I like Memphis. Again, a little bit of a local connection. Kyle Anderson, we talked about Bob Hurley. Kyle Anderson of Memphis played for St. Anthony. His family is from Cape May, so a little bit of a local connection there. And I'm a big Jose Valanciunas guy, so I'm going to take Valanciunas and Anderson and Memphis over the Golden State Warriors.
All right, a little off the grid there. A lot of people going Warriors. I know the NBA is going Warriors.
Right, exactly. Probably, but I like Memphis. I think they played well all year, and Valanciunas has quietly been a force inside for them all season long, and he got the local angle with Kyle Anderson.
23 and 23 he had last night, the other night for Memphis. All right, Mike. Appreciate it as always, man. Have a great weekend. I'll probably see you on Sunday night.
All right. Don't tell me the Knicks score. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I won't. I'll keep that to myself. All right, Mike McGarry, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline on the Friday. Coming up in the next hour, Paul Hudrick's going to preview the Sixers and the Wizards with me right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And don't forget, download the free mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.